Good evening. I am Adriana Pollitt. Please excuse me. It's my son's birthday today and have people and everything over. If you hear loud noises, I apologize in advance. Um I have my notes here. So the first question was explain why it is important for all teachers to be knowledgeable about the definition, characteristics, prevalence, and cause of various learning disabilities. So the importance to me that I've learned and I've been able to be around educators is learning the differences of the disabilities. Although some might seem like they're pretty similar, they're not the same. Um, Being more knowledgeable on like the definitions of knowing exactly what disability the child has is of importance. I think this is where like the diag is more involved. Other than the educator, I know that educators are aware of the way these disabilities work and what they can do to help the student, but as well, it's of more importance with getting the diagnostician involved. Due to just because they have more knowledge of it, that's more of the SPED department. I know here in Texas, the SPED department is now with the IEPs and the 504s, whereas to before it wasn't. This is more of the knowledge because every disability is different. Sometimes the student doesn't need um, the student doesn't need like a big change. Like they could be in a gen ed class. It doesn't really affect them like horrifically as to where like there's students that have absolutely no knowledge of behaving in class and everything, or there's just certain things of the diagnostic that separates the student from being in a SPED classroom to the gen ed class. Um Being able to tell the difference is a high importance. I personally went through something just recently. I am a PEMS clerk at an elementary school, and I got a student where the parent said that the student only needed speech and that the student was receiving um, speech therapy at a different campus in the same district. So I went for the parents' word and everything. We were waiting to get transcripts from the school. Within that time span, of course, I was going to register the student, and then the teacher called me and informed me that that student should not be in her class. The student was not to be in a gen ed class. So the diagnostician went and observed, and that student wasn't even supposed to be not even in our school. It was more of not more than what the parent had told us. It wasn't just speech. um, it turns out that the unit that the student needed was not provided by our campus. And luckily our teacher caught that, and we were able to get the parent back in like ASAP to pick the child up, because he wasn't responding to like any type of things. He was just grabbing and destroying, which would become a liability, of course, to us. So that just show how of importance it is for teachers and for the diagnostician to be able to, you know, inform and know the difference of the disabilities. Sometimes it's not to that extreme. Sometimes it's just an accommodation of giving the student more time to read if they're having trouble. I feel like with dyslexia, sometimes the student needs like more time to concentrate on what the actual letters are and everything in helping them read the accommodation time more than the usual student does. Second question is describe how you would consider the student's cognitive, linguistic, social, and emotional patterns of learning and development when planning for instruction. So I think the importance to me, considering that if I were to have a student that does have accommodations, to have them feel just as normal as the other students. My son does have ADHD, and I know that one thing that he does struggle with is, um, how can I say this? When his peers are finishing their work a lot sooner than he is, he feels like as the need of having to finish his work a lot sooner. And like I told him, like, it's not a race. It's like it might seem like it's a race, but it's not. The importance of you doing your work and having that accommodation time is to just relax, think, and work and make sure that you're doing the work right, that you're using the proper steps. There's times where I feel like students do try to rush it just because of, seeing their peers finish fast, or, they like one thing that we had a long talk with my son was a lot of insecurities of them thinking, his peers thinking, oh, he's like a lot slower, he's dumb, or he's sped, and that's not the case, unfortunately. And I know that nowadays, like, school's cruel, the students are cruel and everything, but the importance of, making them know that it's normal, it's okay, like, everyone learns differently. I think that's like a high importance of teaching students nowadays, that their disability isn't something that makes them different in the wrong way or in a bad way. It's just they need that extra little push. It doesn't make them dumb or anything. It's just something that they need to understand, that everyone's mind works differently. And I think it's really important for people to emphasize that. Um, Describe how you can use what you saw in the part 2 videos to help you better articulate the challenges faced by students. I think it's really important for students to speak out what is going on in their mind. Something that I have learned with my son and his teachers is that they have informed me that they've spoken to him, like, without his ADHD medicine. He struggles and he in concentrating a lot, and that's like something that his teachers want to understand. They've always asked him, like, how does it feel when you're not on your medication? And he'll tell them, my mind feels like it's just like all over the place, and I don't understand anything. Like, I feel like my mind is going like super, super fast, and I can't keep up with it, and I feel sad about it. There's times where communication with your student is really important. Even if they're not vocal about it, just being very observant with your students is of high importance, I feel. And of course, like, if you're not getting a response from the student, even contacting the parent and setting up a meeting and, trying to figure out what helps at home. So maybe we can use it at school in our advantage. The communication with the parent and the teacher is highly important, especially with things like this, because the communication with the parent and the teacher is more like we all have to be on the same page. We need to figure out what is going to help. Do we see any progress in what we're doing here at school? Do you see any progress at home? Like, if it's just kind of like a medication thing, like with my son and his ADHD medicine, we did have him on something different, and I noticed right away that he was becoming way too emotional with that medicine, and like there was lack of focus, like it was more towards like a bad emotion. And talking to his doctor and letting him know, hey, like, this is what the side effects are for him right now, and like I don't want him like this, because you could take a crayon away from him and he'd start crying. So it was more like the doctor was trying to find a solution. We finally got a medication that would help him and everything. Of course, this isn't the case in the classroom. It's the communication of trying to figure out, okay, this is what's happening. This isn't working for him. Okay, like instead of progressing, we're like going down in progress. It's a lot of things that it's time consuming. The evaluating of students like every 6 weeks to make sure that we're doing what we need to for the student to progress in life instead of degress. Discuss how having a basic understanding of the ways various disabilities affect learning and other areas of students' life can assist teachers. Like I said before, I think I already went over this, but understanding the way that a student feels and how they see their peers and how their peers see them can affect the way of learning. But of course, it is important to have them around like their peers. This is something that I have spoken to my husband about, and we kind of got into a disagreement about it, but um I feel like it is important because like in real life, God forbid something happens to their family or anything, but sometimes like sometimes being around peers helps them, like not only with their social skills but in general. um it allows them to learn, it allows them to grow, and that's something that's very important in their early stages of life. Sometimes mom and dad aren't going to be there and they have to learn with routine in their lives. That's how students learn. I feel like even in the special education, like involving them in fire drills, involving them in so many like school things that their peers are involved in is highly important. It involves social skills and motor skills, every type of skill that a normal child goes through. I think the SPED department does an amazing job including them, making them feel normal, making them not feel different. Just like the events of like normal students having sports, activities, and everything. Here in Texas, when I worked at a high school, they had the Special Olympics for the students, which I think was great. I thought that was like the best idea of making them feel normal. Let's celebrate them. Um, Describe how you can apply the tenets of the Christian worldview program. So, I know as a Christian myself, keeping everyone around and not judging and everything is of high importance. With the disabilities and everything, there's times where there's programs that aren't um, paid for or anything. Like it's outside of the school, and I think it's really important to like the world view. Let me see. Lost my notes. Give me 1 second. So it is important to inform parents that it's normal sometimes, if even if it doesn't feel like a normal. Of course, their entire life is going to change. I've always been a person that has accepted everything. I, as a parent, just because I worked with kids for so long, um, I self diagnosed my son with ADHD. Um, I saw the signs and I accepted it like way before like he was actually diagnosed with by his doctor. Um and this was something like because of working so much with educators that I felt strongly and I accepted that that's how his life was going to be. Unfortunately, my parents are very old school and they thought different. My dad is a pastor at a Methodist church right now. And when he did find out that his grandson had ADHD, like the whole thing with him was no, like he does not have ADHD. It's all discipline, like all the emotions he needs to learn how to control himself. He doesn't need the medication for it. Um, and of course, I mean, that's their opinion. Um, it's always for my mom, it was always pray for him, and he'll get better. Um, but realistically, of course, I'm more of outside of the box. I'm not very I'm Christian but not too traditional. Um, just because I am very open-minded, I am very different. I see things differently than someone else would. Um, in my church, of course. I can't speak for anyone else. But just seeing the differences and everything, I accepted my son like as he was. I accepted that he was going to go through struggles, that he has to have the medication to help him, of course. I am also try without your medication. Try, I feel like some parents have like a hard struggle. That's something that you expect as a parent. Of course, when we have kids, we expect, oh, our kids are going to be perfect. Like, no one's perfect. We all have our imperfections. Um, Sometimes it kills us inside to know that our kids have a disability. And it's like people are going to judge us. People are never going to understand. You can't understand unless you're in the box. Um, I think there's churches that do help and tell the parents this is normal. You know, there's of course sermons and everything that you can find little messages that help you understand what the student is going through, help what the parents are going through. Um, I think, as a future educator, my thing is I want everyone to feel the same. I want everyone to feel equal, but of course I want them to have that help with their accommodations. And I feel like that's what a lot of the Christian churches do. They make everyone feel welcomed, no matter what their race is, what they've gone through and everything, their background. That's something that is like very important, of course, especially nowadays. I feel like people have drifted away so much from God that they don't see things that way anymore. They feel like they're gonna be judged. They they're not gonna be accepted, and I feel like that's exactly what parents with children that have disabilities feel. They don't feel the acceptance, and I feel like it's very important for them to feel and know that it's okay. It's okay if they have the disability. It's okay. It doesn't make them any different or anything. I think I did pass my 5 minutes. This is a touchy subject for me. Just being based off of a parent that has a student that has ADHD. Um, and a possible dyslexia, but we accommodate with him. We help him. We go above and beyond to get him the help that he needs. And I think that's very, really important. The way things are going politically right now, it's sad. It's scary to think of everything that's being talked about. But I hope that it doesn't happen. I hope that they do see that everyone is the same. Like some kids do need those accommodations. Maybe that's what all they need to learn to adapt in their real life in their future. I hope that this is a good video and thank you for tuning in.